Hey there, and welcome back to Baldur's Gate 3. My name is Pete, and today we complete what is likely going to be a very combat-filled part of our adventure, as we're about to make our way towards the Rosymorn Monastery. Last time we left off, we already entered the Rosymorn Monastery Trail, met Lady Esther of the Society of Brilliance, who asked us to steal a Githyanki egg from the Githyanki Creche for her, but we proposed an intriguing counteroffer and gave her an owlbear egg instead. Afterwards, we fought a small army of undead and encountered the wizard Elminster, who had a message for Gale from Mystra. It seems even the gods are aware of the danger the Absolute poses, and Mystra has offered to stabilize Gale's Netherese orb in exchange for Gale detonating it in the heart of the Absolute, sacrificing himself in the process. Understandably, neither Gale nor the rest of our party were particularly intrigued by this development, but for the moment we are still far away from this heart of the Absolute, so let's return to the Rosymorn Monastery Trail and follow it in a roughly northern direction, past Lady Esther's camp and towards a collapsed burrow. Unfortunately, it has nothing inside, but a nearby flower can be picked.
This view's almost worth the walk.
We also get a nice view of the monastery in the mountains up ahead, a monastery that we can learn a bit more about from this plaque on the wayside.
Approach the fairy in Lathander's grace. May his gaze shine upon you, pilgrim.
Now, Lathander's name has been mentioned several times now on the trail, and the ferry is this one over here, a cable car. Before we bring it over to us, however, let's head down the path to the west here and help ourselves to the contents of an elegant chest. There are a few more items scattered around, mostly food and arrows, possibly left behind by more Githyanki. Approaching the ledge here, we also find another way across. This side of the mountain can be climbed down. We'll explore that later though. For now, let's summon the cable car. A DC 15 strength check is required. Sylvia is actually very well suited for the task, still carrying the Club of Hill Giant strength, and with the bonus from Jack of all trades, she actually has higher success chances here than Karlach or Lae'zel. Still, even with guidance on top of all that, we fail the first attempt, but with plenty of inspiration stockpiled, we can simply try a second time.
That was tough. This can't have been used in a while.
And there we go. Slowly but steadily the cable car moves over to us, seemingly not used in a long time, so the Githyanki must have taken a different path. And once our entire party is on, we can enjoy the ride over to the monastery.
The sun. We should stop for a nice little lunch. Take it all in.
Is the world gnawing at your grey matter? We must find a creche and be purified.
True. Fine. First, purify the tadpole. Then, a little lunch.
Right, here we are, and before it's time for lunch, we can scavenge a little shrine full of offerings, including a valuable elixir of greater arcane cultivation. Morally, taking these gifts to Lathander may be a grey area, but, well, the monastery seems long abandoned anyway. There's also 3 letters here, 2 pilgrims' prayers and 1 pilgrim's curse. The first prayer asks Lathander to bless the health of 2 newborn baby boys. The second prayer thanks Lathander for the blessings bestowed during the author's travels. And the curse, well, it's hard to paraphrase this one beyond noting that it was likely written by a follower of the Absolute, so perhaps just read it for yourself. Moving on, we can now pick 2 autumn crocus and follow the path south. At the crossroads here, the way to the left takes us towards the monastery, but we actually want to go in the opposite direction first.
Are we not there yet? My feet are killing me.
Want me to carry you?
Oh, darling, would you?
Sure. If you promise to swap once I get tired.
Please, I can barely manage my pack. You'd kill me.
Following a little banter between Astarion and Karlak, we keep heading south, pick a mushroom and turn west, jump the gap here and find ourselves back on the Rosymorn Monastery Trail, where we can pick 2 more berry bushes before encountering a blue jay by the wayside, hovering next to a nest. Let's see what this bird has to say.
I've got nothing left to take, so you might as well shove off.
Right, that is indeed a lot of attitude to start the conversation, but let's not get sidetracked. With a bird's eye view, this one may know something about the creche that could be of use to us.
Do I look like a bloody tour guide? All I know is the roof's the best nest spot on the whole Chionfar. I got there first too, before the thieves showed up.
Well, I suppose we'll bite. What's this about the theft then?
Steal? Eagles are bigger. They just take. Nest, prey, everything. That's how it works here.
Now, curiously, we did notice a nest right next to the blue jay, so it's a bit hard to see where the problem is exactly.
Oh, sure, a nest. But it's not my nest. That's up on the roof with the eagles. Eagles are pricks.
Well, but maybe so are blue jays, because if the bird's nest is on the roof, then whose nest would this right here be?
Some poor little tit who wasn't paying attention.
Right, so eagle stealing a nest is bad, but blue jay stealing a nest is good. Is that what he's trying to say?
Exactly right. Not all humans can grasp bird ethics. You should be proud. It's not even like the eagles need my nest. The drunk lizards they eat aren't hard to catch.
Now, the mention of drunk lizards brings up a nature check we definitely want to attempt. Certainly not Sylvia's best skill, but the DC of 14 here is not impossible with guidance. And there we go. Guidance comes in clutch to help us pass.
While quite vague, drunk lizards could well point to kobolds, who tend to operate in packs.
So we mentally prepare for kobolds as we now offer our services to help the blue jay deal with the eagles.
You? Kill an eagle? But if you think you can, then please kill the eagles. They're the worst.
And, well, no promises, but we'll go and check out the situation and see what we can do.
Thank you. I'll keep an eye on the roof. Rude bastards, those eagles. Deserve a little comeuppance.
Right, now at this point we want to take note of a key inside the blue jay's nest. The nest itself is marked as owned, the key meanwhile is not, so let's pocket it, alongside a few more apples and arrows, which could point to another Githyanki training session, perhaps even one that led to the nest's previous owner's early demise. We also spot traps nearby, but before we approach them, there's 2 hard-to-see items here, bottled blooms and a bear claw. The game does not mark them and they need to be spotted by the player. Now, like I said, the path ahead is trapped, once again with repulsion mines that won't deal any damage, but can throw people back and potentially off the cliff here. In practice, I have noticed that even failing the save against the explosion very rarely leads to someone actually dying, as they need to be perfectly positioned on the right angle, so Lae'zel here does get flung, but in the wrong direction. Up ahead then, the cliffside we can climb up, the very same I mentioned a few minutes ago before we entered the cable car. This here is another path across if you fail to get that cable car moving. Now, heading back the way we came, we take a right at this small fork in the road and have our entire party fail on a survival check, with good reason, as the DC is revealed to be a very difficult 25. Don't worry though, even failing this check does not mean we won't ever discover what's hidden here, more on that later. For now, let's climb down the rocks here, pick another flower and investigate another burrow. This one actually has some loot inside, even though it's nothing of value. Further up the path, we now turn towards the monastery itself, leave the cable car station behind and unlock another waypoint. We want to take note of some roots we could climb up to get onto a rocky overhang above. For the moment, however, let's stay on the ground and make our way towards the entry of the Rosymorn Monastery, where we witness an interesting encounter.
That's enough. On your feet.
Where are you taking us?
If this is about that weapon your friend was talking about, we don't have it and we don't know shit about it.
Silence! Move!
No. No, I'm not going in there. I won't.
Anyone want to join her? As I thought. Through the doors. Now! The captain is expecting you.
Forward, carefully. These cultists have the Creche on high alert.
Right, looks like the Githyanki have started to take followers of the Absolute Prisoner in search of the artifact, and as always, they are ruthless in their endeavor, but maybe that allows us to learn something by speaking to the dead halfling here.
The corpse regards you lifelessly.
As always, we begin with proper introductions.
Corliss. Undertemp. Novice of the Absolute.
And then ask about what the Githyanki want with the cultists.
Searching. Hunting. For weapon.
Right, no surprise so far. Let's ask about why she ran, considering what it meant for her.
Scared. Heard. Bad things. Yankee. Torture.
Sounds like we'll need to be extra careful once we step inside the creche, but what were the halflings doing here in the first place?
Path to Moonrise Towers. Absolute. Answering the call.
So, same destination as we have, and for our last question, let's try to learn more about this weapon.
Nothing. Was telling the truth. Didn't know anything.
The spell's power wanes. You can ask no more questions.
Alright, not much to learn here unfortunately, and the few questions we did not get to ask wouldn't have changed that.
So the Githyanki aren't fond of the cultists. Could be a good thing.
Indeed, a real the enemy of my enemy situation, even though not everyone would agree.
Within the artifact, a feeling stirs. Uncertainty.
Your curiosity is getting the better of you. Do not let it. Stay away from the Githyanki. They're hunting you. They want the artifact. They'll stop at nothing to take it from you.
So, the Dream Guardian warns us of the Githyanki, and from past experience, rightfully so I would say. Either way, an encounter with them is not exactly imminent, as the door they went through here is locked and cannot be picked open. Two hard-to-see skeletons lie next to it. The second one carries a letter, another prayer to Lathander it seems, in which they ask to be blessed with a child. Sadly, they never made it further than this, and it looks like we might be locked out too, until we discover broken windows on the western side of the entrance here.
What do you mean, too drunk? It's not possible.
Right, a quick scare here with the kobold looter wandering into the room, but after a few drunken words, they collapse and fall asleep. Investigating further, we want to take note of the firewine belly condition here, which causes an explosion if this kobold is killed with fire, one of several reasons we are rolling with a very martial-focused party here today. Now, Astarion has no trouble dispatching of the kobold silently and swiftly, but after looting the corpse and sneaking up ahead, we notice many more of them in the room up ahead. A few are asleep, others are not. We can count a little over 10 enemies in here, and yes, they are enemies. These kobolds cannot be approached without a fight breaking out. To begin this one, we send Astarion out and Sylvia in first. Thanks to the high number of drunk kobolds, we have a lot of room to maneuver stealthily here, perfect to get onto the high ground. Our first target is then the kobold inventor, the toughest of the bunch and also the only enemy capable of using fire as an attack. In this environment, with lots of spilled alcohol everywhere, that could be devastating.
Kobold reeks of spirits. Fire could be explosive.
So, here we go. We've got a surprise round, but all the sleeping kobolds have woken up, unfortunately. Well, technically not all of them. More on that in a moment. For now, while probably not necessary, let's start things off with a few slashing flourishes. The kobold scouts with 16 hit points are perfect targets and should all go down in one hit. With 2 enemies taken care of, we can go again and take 2 more off the board. And just like that, the fight suddenly looks very manageable with only 7 kobolds remaining. Let's make it 6 as Astarion sneaks in to strike for 2 guaranteed critical hits. Then we can use his free Dread Ambusher attack to crit the kobold over here too. And finally, he does have enough movement left to also strike the one at the top of the ladder. Using just the action probably would have been enough, but there's no reason to worry. Up next, we move in Karlak and also position her up top here before throwing the returning pike. That does not quite get the kill, but with only 2 hit points remaining, we'll use her second throw on a different enemy so that we don't waste the damage potential. And this time, 23 points of damage are enough for another takedown. For the almost dead kobold, then, we send in Shovel. The little one needs some action from time to time. And this also unlocks an inspiration for Sylvia for 5 killed enemies in a single turn. Yes, Sylvia herself only killed 4, but Shovel counts as a summon, and thus the kills are added to Sylvia's total. Finally, it's Lae'zel's turn, who needs to take the long way around here to avoid getting spotted, but eventually this allows her to strike with advantage, and because of that we can turn on her Great Weapon Master bonus damage. Sadly, the extra hit chance penalty causes a miss, but at an 80% hit chance, we can simply go again, still striking with advantage because Lae'zel is facing at least 2 enemies in close range, a bonus added by the Gloves of the Growling Underdog we looted from Dror Ragzlin back in the Goblin Camp. The bonus attack from Great Weapon Master then fells the last foe, and with that the fight is won. Or is it? Let me direct your attention to the fire wine barrels here, from which we can notice strange sounds emerging, almost as if someone was inside slurping on the barrel's contents. And if we shoot one open here, our suspicions are confirmed. Yet another drunk kobold emerges, not surprised, but incapable of matching Astarion in the initiative order, and Sylvia also ends up ahead, which results in an easy kill for another 75 XP. And as you can see, we can now repeat this a few more times until all hidden kobolds in the room have been taken out. This is one of the main reasons why I advise against using fire or explosives in this fight, even if the environment lends itself nicely to it. Blowing up these barrels too early will add all of these kobolds to the fight, and even if you gain surprise against the main group, chances are high that those from the barrels will not be surprised, which can make things tricky. So instead, just finish them off after the main group has been dealt with. It is much easier that way. Fun fact, you can actually pocket these barrels with the kobolds still inside and have them emerge much later in the game to create potentially very funny situations, but I hope you forgive me for dispatching of them right here now for maximum XP gain. We are actually very close to leveling up again. At this point then, let's loot what the kobolds have left behind. Most of it is, unsurprisingly, weapons and alcohol. We can also find the monastery's wine ledger on the floor here, right next to several wine racks that we can empty out to increase our own stockpile. The hole in the wall here then, a path out and up, but we will leave it be for now. We'll soon discover another path to get to the same area. First of all though, let's clear out this chamber right here. The amount of wine and spirits you can find is actually quite a lot, and since the stuff sells for a decent price, this fight can be a good moneymaker, even if it doesn't initially look like it. Now, arguably the most interesting bit of loot is the ceremonial mace on this kobold right here, a standard +1 mace, but there's more to it, as we will soon discover. This one also carries a collection of drawings ranging from crude sexuality to detailed depictions of Githyanki dragons and wine bottles. The lore implications here are actually a little interesting, as kobolds are often known to revere dragons, and thus the Githyanki's command over those dragons could either intrigue or possibly offend them. Now, let's wrap this up. There is one fire wine barrel here without a kobold inside that we can grab and send to camp for later use, and I also want to quickly show you one more way you can approach this fight. The support beams here are all cracked and can easily be destroyed to deal damage to those below and those on top. Not quite the best way to deal with the kobolds in my opinion, but since we're not coming back into this room, we might as well use it for a brief demonstration. In the corridor outside then, more wine racks, but no path deeper into the monastery. So how about we fast travel back to that spot we noticed earlier, the one with the roots that we can climb up. And if you have paid close attention, you may have actually noticed that another type of creature was nearby all while we fought the kobold. We can now reveal it after destroying the barricade here. In the chamber beyond, we then spot a few Gremishka. Normally, these creatures would be invisible, but thanks to Volo's eye, Sylvia can detect them. Stats-wise, they are nothing special. Their distinctive feature is their magic allergy. If a spell is cast near them, they will randomly react to it, something we better avoid as the outcome can be dangerous to us. Today's second reason why the spellcasters are being left home in camp. Now, for the ambush, we want to send Astarion up ahead. With him and with all others, we also want to make sure to jump the gap here before entering combat to conserve the bonus action.
Those little pussycats are allergic to magic. Better watch my spells.
Following the kill, Astarion also comments on the magic allergy, but we have planned for that. 8 more enemies now remain, and we want to take them out with weapon attacks only. Let's leave the 2 by the entrance, B, and strike the group in the middle next. The Dread Ambusher attack gets us into the kill, and this time we use only the bonus action for the next attack. Not quite enough though, but we're switching targets regardless to benefit from the bonus damage against full health enemies. And just like that, there are only 6 creatures remaining. Once again, I think it goes without saying that a fight is unavoidable here. Lae'zel moves in next to strike with Great Weapon Master still active. That gets her the kill, but places her at the end of the initiative, so let's keep things moving with Miss Hairyfoot, who can stay hidden while advancing a little further into the room and finish off where the Astarion already started. 4 more enemies remain. Sylvia's slashing flourish meanwhile is no longer usable, but she still has 2 more attacks. The first one deals 14 points of damage, and to not waste the full potential of the second, we switch targets, the 90% connects, and we deal a further 11 points of damage. Moving in with Karlach, things now get a bit tricky due to plenty of columns and rather low ceilings in this chamber, which makes throwing the returning pike a little difficult. Ultimately, I ended up having to throw a hand axe because the throwing angle works differently for those, and we are rewarded with a crit for the kill and enough XP for Sylvia to already level up. For attack number 2 then, we can move freely, and that allows us to use the pike after all, for another crit and the 7th kill of the fight. Let's bring in Shovel to target the 6 hit point Gremishka here, and that's another crit, and the rest of the party now levels up too. At this point, we can end Astarion's, Sylvia's and Karlach's turns to bring things back to Lae'zel. Great Weapon Master is turned off now that she's out of stealth, and unfortunately, without the bonus damage, we don't quite finish things here, but on the following turn, Sylvia takes aim and the fight is over. Now, before we take care of leveling up, let's loot the room. From the Gremishka, we can grab their tails, useful alchemy ingredients in the making of a Wizard's Bane oil. The creatures also have several makeshift nests inside the chamber, all containing some valuables, often gemstones and spell scrolls. In the northwestern corner then, we can look out over the hole in the wall of the room below, where we previously fought the kobolds. Once again though, we have no need to go that way just yet. Instead, we can find the recipe for the potion of animal speaking in the corner here. The ingredients are acorn truffle and rogue's morsel, both easy to acquire. On a shelf then, an interesting record of complaints detailing the likely arrival of the Gremishkas in the monastery as payment for wine and mistakenly assumed to be regular cats until one shapeshifted, likely as a result of magic being cast nearby. Now, on the southern side of the room, we find two of these locked iron gates that we can swiftly pick open with Astarion. The DC of 14 is pretty much automatic for him. Beyond the gate, we can then read up on the founding of the monastery, seemingly constructed to house an artifact only referred to as the Blood, possibly something to look out for as we venture further. Let's pocket the book alongside an elixir of necrotic resistance, and then repeat the entire process on the second iron gate. Behind this one, a tome with a drawing of Dawnmaster Versailles riding into battle with a battle axe, a useful bit of information as we'll find out later. Finally, there's a locked door on the room's western side, once again easily picked open against a DC of 15, and behind it we find, first of all, a skeleton with a journal on it, reporting on the first sightings of Githyanki in the area, and of the author's hopes that the lance on the monastery roof will be fired, a weapon it seems of great destructive power. The real treasure then inside this chest here, 3 spell scrolls for us to loot, and if we wanted to, we could actually use this broken down tower here to get all the way up to the roof, albeit only with characters strong enough to make the leap up to the next floor. Not the path we plan on taking anyway, so back into the previous chamber we go. We'll have Lae'zel pocket 2 more fire wine barrels for later use, and then I think it's time to finally advance our party to level 7. Now, this is an interesting one for Sylvia in particular, as our Dark Urge Halfling Bard will deviate from her Bard path up until this point. We're going to give Sylvia her first level in the fighter class. The reason for this is the same as it is for Karlach. We want to unlock Action Surge at fighter level 2, so that Sylvia can get even more attacks per turn. Now, all of that will happen at the next level up. For now, we can unlock a fighting style, and archery is a no-brainer in my opinion. A +2 bonus to all ranged weapon attacks works incredibly well for her. Moving on to Astarion, who is already multiclassing with Rogue and Ranger, and for level 7 we want to grab his 4th Ranger level. No need to replace spells, instead we can now select a feat at Ranger 4, and we're going with the ever-popular Sharpshooter. Just like Great Weapon Master, 10 points of extra damage with a -5 hit chance penalty as a trade-off. Considering just how often Astarion attacks with advantage, this will frequently be worth it and make him even more lethal on those opening turns. Karlach now receives the aforementioned 2nd level in Fighter to unlock Action Surge. This means even more throw attacks per turn, and when raging, having her deal close to 100 points of damage per turn should be very possible on occasion. Finally, we have Lae'zel, who I'm a little unsure about. For now, we'll continue down the path of Fighter, but if you have suggestions for a fitting multiclass build, feel free to let me know. In any case, we unlock 2 more Battlemaster maneuvers and go with Precision Attack, which lets us roll a superiority die to increase our hit chance, useful if you just need to hit by any means necessary, and Disarming Strike, great to get rid of powerful weaponry, even though it will likely be used only very rarely. And with that, let's head out of the room through the door on the east side here. The chest on the balcony is empty. We are currently standing above the area where we noticed the halfling encounter earlier. Heading north, we come across another wooden barricade. The perception check here is only to notice it as destructible, but even failing it, we can of course still do that and explore what was likely once a small pool of water, now the location of a secret treasure chest.
That's curious.
Once the loot inside has been collected, we climb up the roots here onto the roof. This earns us 210 XP simply for discovering the location, and we find a skeleton up here next to a rusty short sword. We turn right, west in this case, to come across the opening of that broken tower we could have jumped up inside a few moments earlier, and moving on, a dead Githyanki carries a slate that we can read to learn about how this monastery first ended up on the Githyanki's radar.
Fallen Githyanki warrior. A creche must be close.
After a brief comment from Lae'zel, we head towards the center of the roof, note several grasping vines in the area, and witness the Blue Jay's Nest quest update, because we have just found the eagles who allegedly stole the bird's nest. Right next to them, we also spot some interesting looking machinery. This could be that lance that was mentioned in a text earlier. Either way, the eagles can be spoken to, so let's approach.
Intruder! In my nest! This area was meant to be safe! Xavier, get behind Mummy!
Now, if we want to avoid a fight breaking out immediately, it's best to use the persuasion option here. For Sylvia, a DC of 15 is easily doable, especially with Lae'zel giving her guidance.
Fine. Xavier! Xavier! Don't talk to it! It might have germs.
Right, and there we are. The two eagles are pacified for the time being. Unfortunately, it will not remain that way for long, because as you can see, there is another ceremonial weapon inside this one's nest, and getting close enough to grab it would automatically trigger combat. So yeah, best we prepare by taking a closer look at our enemies. With an AC of 13, the two giant eagles are not exactly hard to hit. The ancient one, the mother in this case, does have respectable stats, as you can see, but of course that won't help if none of them get to strike, which is exactly what we'll try to achieve here.
Looks to be a powerful weapon. I wonder if it was used on the Githyanki nearby.
After a comment on the lance, we set up a sneak attack ambush from the back with Astarion. Sharpshooter bonus damage is enabled. Let's see how this goes. Alright, first shot misses, second one hits for 25 points of damage, and the surprise round, lovely. We'll use the Dread Ambush attack to melee strike the other eagle, since it is still at full health. That results in a wonderful 39 points of damage, and now we can move back out of melee range to shoot twice more at the ancient one. Two more crits, a grand total of 48 points of damage, 112 damage in a single turn, and that's despite missing one attack. I would say Astarion has done a great job here, serving up 2 kills on a silver platter. Sylvia should have little trouble finishing the fight with 3 more crossbow bolts. And there we go, the eagles are dead, and if we wait for just a second, we can see someone occupy their nest immediately. The blue jay is back, let's have a chat.
Glorious! Feathers bloody everywhere, mate! Feels good to be home in my nest.
And well, we did what we could. How about a reward for our efforts?
I'm sorry. I'm just a bird. I don't have things to give you. Although, when I escaped the eagles, I spotted something buried near that ferry dock. Might be worth a look.
And with that, the quest is complete and we actually obtain a map marker for the bird's find, right where we failed that DC 25 survival check earlier. And if we go there now, a dirt mound has appeared, ready to be excavated for some decent loot. By the way, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but the eagle's nest was very much eagle-sized, so I'm not entirely sure if the blue jay just made up the story about them stealing it, hoping to obtain a better nest, or if they really stole his spot and just made it bigger. Either way, returning to the roof, we can now grab some eagle feathers, an ingredient in the flying potion, as well as the aforementioned ceremonial warhammer, another +1 version of the regular weapon.
Bet these eagle corpses will scare any more of the big wing bastards away.
Moving on, we head east. There's a wooden trunk on top of a small platform here. Climbing up gains us a few healing potions. Dropping down, we can then jump over the fallen tree here to get to the next roof section. If we follow this one as far south as possible, we can jump another gap and eventually get our hands on a pouch with yet another healing potion inside. Heading further east, a skeleton holds a short sword that we can add to our collection, but the real prize is at the far eastern end of the roof here. Past another gap and inside a chest, we find the Holy Lance Helm, dealing 1d4 radiant damage to attackers who miss the wearer, possibly useful for a high AC character, like Shadowheart for example. From here, we now retrace our steps back towards the eagle nest, and right next to it we use the roots to climb back down, as we have now explored the rooftop in its entirety. We end up on the monastery's first level here, can loot another skeleton and look out over a corridor that we already passed by on the other side a few moments ago. This here is where we destroyed the barricade to step into that former pool with the treasure mount. Now, we'll explore that corridor itself soon enough. For now, let's turn our attention on the door next to us, featuring an enchanted locking mechanism that cannot be picked and protects from all damage under 50 points. In other words, we won't get through here that easily, so good thing that there's a way around. Past the door here, we find some old maintenance records talking about oiling a machine and telling the reader not to grease the statues to avoid the stone getting loose. Let's keep that in mind for later. Loot another skeleton here, and notice the crumbling wall next to it, which for some reason we can simply destroy with our crossbow.
A Guardian of Faith spell, and a remarkably long-lasting one at that.
And indeed, a Guardian of Faith protects the chamber beyond, a being with an armor class of 20 that automatically counterattacks anyone attacking it, provided they come close enough. So, needless to say, we will keep our distance. More than 3 meters is all it takes, and despite the high AC, from stealth, Sylvia can still almost guarantee a hit. That gains us surprise, and with that, let's bring Astarion into the fight. Sharpshooter bonus damage is turned off to improve his hit chance, because with only 60 hit points, we probably don't need too many hits here to take the Guardian down. And there we go. Interestingly enough, we don't actually earn experience points for the kill, but the main prize is something else anyway. Next to several skeletons scattered around the Guardian's former location, we can find our third ceremonial weapon, a battle axe this time. Other noteworthy loot inside the room includes the last note of a monk here, documenting the Githyanki attack and eventual takeover of the monastery. The notes also make frequent mentions of the room's smashed window, and we can also find some alchemy ingredients on the cabinet behind the skeleton, as well as 3 useful spell scrolls inside a small gilded chest in the shadows here. Now, let's take the monk's advice and leave through the window. This is absolutely not necessary though, and just one of 2 paths we can take to get into this room right here. Its main entrance leads out to that hallway I mentioned previously. This room is very important, and to make the most of it, we want to first inspect the stained glass window in its center.
The monastery's notable keepers adorn these intricate panels.
Now, failing the religion check here does not cause us to miss out on anything important. we can still inspect the imagery of the 4 dawnmasters depicted on the window, and while we do, we want to pay close attention to their weapons.
The reconsecration of the monastery, conducted by Dawnmaster Seed. Evensong before the Zenith Day, celebrated by Dawnmaster Stockhold. Dawnmaster Welkin Glory beckons forth the rising sun in Lathander's name.
And finally, there is one broken window here, so we'll need to figure out what's missing.
Dawnmaster Vasaid wielding... The rest of the inscription and picture has shattered away.
Right, so 4 dawnmasters, 4 weapons, and 4 pedestals in the room here. One already has a ceremonial weapon on it.
Dawnmaster Welkin Glory.
A sword for Welkin Glory. A good start. Let's read the next plaque here.
Dawnmaster Vasaid.
Now, Vasaid's panel was broken, but we saw a depiction of him elsewhere earlier. In that one, he was shown with a battle axe, so let's place it on the pedestal. Lovely. Heading over to the other side of the room, we have a third plaque.
Dawnmaster Seed.
And Seed was clearly depicted holding a warhammer. And that leaves only one more.
Dawnmaster Stockhold.
Stockhold's weapon wasn't clearly visible, but we have only one option left, the ceremonial mace. And there we go. With all 4 weapons placed, a secret panel in the room opens. We earn 30 XP and gain the Morning Lord's Radiance condition, 1d4 bonus radiant damage to all weapon attacks. One more reason why we have the Marshal squad out with us today. They arguably benefit the most from this, as this bonus actually lasts until the next long rest. Now, inside the hidden compartment here, a note to the next Dawnmaster explains that the Blood of Lathander is hidden and closed off with magic, only obtainable by one of our own.
This blood sounds important. Could it still be here somewhere?
Well, if it is, we might need this, the Dawnmaster's crest, to possibly identify ourselves as one of them. Now, with this puzzle solved, we can actually take all 4 ceremonial weapons back into our possession. There's also a key and a guest book on the floor here, with a few friendly messages from past visitors. Once the final weapon has been picked up, we can exit through the room's northeastern window to immediately find some hidden treasure buried right outside of it. Once collected, let's climb up the roots here to gain even more valuables, a nice assortment in the chest here, and a very rare scroll of Revivify can be obtained from behind a locked iron gate. Heading back down, we now leave the same way we came in. As we do, I want to point out that dropping down this hole here is a nice shortcut to where we'll go next, as we now head back out of the room with the Guardian, down the stairs and into a small section of the far east side. Here we can pick some wispweed and search another skeletal body, and take note of a path leading down along the mountainside here, a path that we will leave be for now. Instead, we follow the path by the stairs.
Stand your ground! Keep them busy! Lathander, forgive me. We have to fire the lance.
This looks like a magic mouth spell. That voice probably belongs to someone long gone.
So, a magic mouth repeating the same instructions over and over again, likely stemming back from the Githyanki attack. The next section here is rather uneventful. The book on the rule of 3 here details alchemical principles. There's also an inventory of offerings to the monastery, but most of it is long gone. While we search the few barrels that remain then, we notice another wooden barricade that we can quickly destroy, only to find a door leading into that aforementioned section, the one we also could have dropped down into. This earns us 300 experience points, and once again, this area does not have that much of interest in it. A few skeletal remains with weaponry scattered about, a grease bottle in the northeastern corner here, and perhaps most importantly, a massive statue in the center. A log of visitors sits beside it.
The blood of Lathander, spilled in holy battle with Samaster, immortalized here for all to worship.
So they kept the Blood of Lathander here. No wonder it was looted.
So, looks like we found where the Blood of Lathander once was. As you can see though, it is no longer here.
That's a Githyanki blade if I ever saw one.
The presence of Githyanki weaponry might indicate that we're getting closer to the Creche. For now though, we only find a record of their takings. On the room's southern side then, we find a lever that opens the double doors here. The very same doors we found locked at the beginning of the episode, after the Githyanki took the halflings inside. To the left and right of those doors, there are once again 2 locked iron gates. I'll keep this brief. Astarion has, as always, no trouble cracking them open. The one on the left explains that Sharan followers had stolen the Blood of Lathander, but it seemingly made its way back here. And behind the gate on the right, we find a recording of the initial task to reclaim the relic, an order given to Dawnmaster Facade back when he was still only a paladin. Finally, there is a buried treasure to be found on the far western side of this area, and that's also pretty much our last point of interest in here. A Githyanki record of the establishment of the Creche inside the monastery here can be found nearby. Now all that is left to do is to find the entrance to it, and well, look at what we have just at the bottom of the stairs over here.
Why? Have you anything to hide?
No. But he might scour through the whole Creche in his search.
Be calm, Rastil. Those standing in truth need not fear Vlaakith's gaze.
And there we are. After a thorough tour through the Rosymorn Monastery, we have finally found the Githyanki Creche. Next time then, we'll see what it has to offer and whether or not we can make it back out alive. For today, however, I think we have reached a good point to make the cuts. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or become a channel member or Patreon supporter. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.